Morning.
All right, in today's Eye on Money, weighing the cost of college during the pandemic, with schools across the country shifting to online learning, many college students are trying to decide whether that experience is worth the high price of tuition. We spoke to a diverse group of students about the factors they are considering.
I have 4 online classes and 1 hybrid class.
I'm going to do strictly online classes.
I'm looking at skipping my fall semester.
With RISD, there's going to be a 2-week quarantine first.
Even after I sent in my gap year acceptance, I was still deciding whether or not I really wanted to do it.
It's a tough choice to decide not to go to campus. I won't have that freshman experience. I don't want to be dramatic, but it's kind of heartbreaking when you love school and you love learning.
I realized I'm a lot better at learning in person rather than online. I felt that my money would be put to better use if I were to wait for classes to be in person.
As for me, it was difficult deciding whether or not I wanted to actually go this year, if I wanted to do it in person versus online.
For a lot of my friends, they find it really hard that they're paying very large amount of money for an online education, and they feel like that kind of money could be spent elsewhere.
I do have some concerns. I've taken online courses before, and I think that they're fine. Obviously not ideal, but I really want to graduate in 4 years. That's a big factor for me.
The fall semester is going to start whether you're there or not. I mostly ponder on what I expected. I expected to go to campus in the fall. I expected to move in. I expected everything to be perfect. And it's just difficult because now you have to adjust to the unexpected.
Joining us to discuss financial options for students is CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger. Jill, good morning. This is such a hard choice. I have a rising junior. We're going through this at home. You're paying all this money, and your kids may be taking classes online. Should you consider the possibility of a gap year in a situation like this, just waiting till everything gets back to normal?
I know so many families are having these discussions like yours, Anthony. But the problem is that when we look at college, we know that, of course, a college education is worth it. College graduates make more over their lifetimes. But the weird thing is, according to the Federal Reserve Bank, that gap year will cost you, get this, $90,000 over your work life because you're entering the labor force a year later and you've taken that year off. So from the perspective of money in your pocket, it's probably better to go back to school, of course, with the greatest precautions.
Jill, there are a lot of lawsuits that have been filed demanding tuition refunds because students have been sent home effectively. Is there any chance that these people are going to recoup their money?
I doubt it. I mean, a lot of universities were very quick to refund money for room and board, obviously, last semester. But I think these lawsuits aren't really going anywhere. But that said, if your family's financial condition has changed because of the virus, you should go back to your university. You should explain that. You should try to get another financial aid package. And I want to be crystal clear about this. When you get that package, be sure to understand what you are getting as a grant, basically free money, but what's coming in the form of a loan. I think a lot of universities and colleges confuse these terms. Try to make sure you understand this. Do try to get a discount if your family has been impacted.
There is something called tuition insurance, Jill. Is that something people should be considering, and does it even cover a pandemic?
Well, it mostly will exclude a pandemic, except if you or your child becomes sick from the pandemic. Look, tuition insurance is kind of interesting. I didn't know anything about it till researching it in depth. You know, there are certainly reasons why you'd want a refund. Maybe your child has a chronic disorder. Maybe something's going on in his or her life, sort of a mental or emotional issue. Then it will pay. But for the pandemic or just fear of going back to school, that would be excluded. So like many insurance policies, there's a list of things that it won't cover.
One good thing in all of this, Jill, is that federal student loan interest rates are at all-time lows. Can or should students consider refinancing at this point?
Well, remember, the federal government, and remember, the federal government does about 90% of all student loans. Those are the rates that we're talking about. 2.75% for undergraduate loans. It's down by about 40% from a year ago. This is for the upcoming academic year only. So you might have older loans that clearly have higher interest rates. What's the upside of refinancing? A lower rate. But a downside of refinancing a federal student loan is that you lose all of those options for repayment. Income-based repayment, some of the school forgiveness loans if you were in public service, and you would lose that freeze of your freeze of your interest rate at 0%, which is now frozen through September. So be very careful, run the numbers, but it could be a good idea, especially if those loans are at much higher rates.
Yeah, so many tough decisions for students right now, Jill. Thank you.